Welcome to a new daily top Askreddit video. Today's topic: people who have appeared on dating shows, naked attraction, first dates, what's it like behind the cameras. Had a non-actor friend on MTV's Next in the early 00s as one of the three suitors on the bus. I watched the episode and the banter didn't sound like him at all. I asked and he said every single word out of my mouth was scripted. Every single word out of my mouth was scripted. Next and Parental Control was clearly a bunch of people reading painfully awful lines off of cue cards. Like, if you can't tell those shows are scripted, I'd what to tell you. My name's Bobby, I'm a surfer and love a good stiff drink. If you like a stiff one and getting rode hard like a wave, I'm your guy. Edit, I'd like to thank my wife for forcing me to watch Next last week, otherwise I'd never have this sweet karma. I was once offered $100 to play the bitchy girlfriend on Parental Control. I didn't think that was enough money to publicly ruin my reputation. I do know some people who did other MTV shows though. One of the teachers at my HS did Room Raiders and was promptly fired for her appearance. My ex was super into The Hills. I kept telling her it was fake, but she didn't believe me. Then, the series finale happened, and they pulled back at the end of the final scene to show it was all a set on a production stage. I laughed so hard that I thought I was dying. Greatest finale ever. Lauren Conrad came out with 3 books she wrote based on the show. They used to bribe the girls with designer handbags, clothes and cars to cause drama. They also had a phone given to them by production they had to have on them at all times where they would feed them stuff to bring up and say. Also fed them alcohol to make things interesting. She changed the names in her books, but the stories are real of things she went through on the show, pretty interesting. Also on the 10-year anniversary of The Hills, MTV did a 1-episode show where Lauren sat down and explained a lot of stuff that happened, showing clips and basically saying they forced them and set them up for most of the situations. A friend was on the Irish first dates. She said everything took ages. They had to get there early and wait for hours to be called. They were told to take a toilet break during the date so they could be filmed phoning someone. This took a long time as they had to change microphones. Afterwards they had to wait around to be filmed talking about the date. They were given €20 towards the meal and had to pay the rest themselves. The taxi afterwards is just for filming purposes and drops them off round the corner. They have to make their own way home. This sounds like a literal nightmare. I would rather have a terrible real date. Edit, to those in the comments. Just because I would rather have a terrible date than this doesn't mean I want a terrible date. This is what it's like to work on set in the film industry. Long days, most of that time is waiting. The taxi bit sounds hilarious for some reason. Alright, fuck off here then. What? You're not driving me home. GTFO, I have the rest of the contestants to pick up. What? They could have just recorded me getting in the car, damn it. This is actually farther away from the bus stop than the restaurant. FFS. I don't remember if it was The Apprentice or another reality show, but I remember someone pointed out that every person who was kicked off left in the same taxi. They never changed the cab's identification numbers. Pretty standard, but pretty ridiculous too. On The Apprentice UK, they film the getting into taxi after being fired bit is fired on day 1. So they make them all wear a big coat plus scarf so it's not obvious the outfit on actual fired day does not match the outfit in the taxi. I did a car dating show when I was an actor in La. It was fun and we did a lot of fun trivia games and such. After 2 hours they took me aside and asked if I was in love with the girl. I honestly said that I wasn't, but I'd be happy to be friends. For a long time I couldn't figure out why they wouldn't use my episode because I thought it was really funny. Turns out they only use the episodes where people actually fall in love with each other in 2 hours. That's a little fast for me. Edit, now I remember it's called Third Wheel. It was a blind date show. Seriously, it was fun, just too soon for love. You dated a car. Stick shift. But like fucking nobody falls in love in 2 hours. The best you're going to get is 2 immature idiots that want to smash and mistake that feeling for oh. Yeah, that would make better TV. True love. No. Serious infatuation where you don't want the date to end and cannot wait to see them again. Definitely happens. I don't speak Spanish fluently, but one time I appeared on Descorazo's 12 Hearts, which is a Spanish language romance show where a woman has to choose from 12 men to date. living in Southern California, where it's filmed, and a Spanish-speaking friend of mine dragged me to the set when they had a last-minute cancellation and needed someone to stand in lol. Anyway, the gimmick of the show is that each of the 12 guys has a different zodiac sign, and I guess that's part of the host/matchmaker's recommendation to the woman. I didn't really understand what was going on, but they didn't care what my actual birthday was. They just told me to pretend to be a Sagittarius for the show. I made it to the second round. The woman didn't kick me off immediately, much to my surprise lol. When she asked me to describe myself, I just kind of said I'm a nice guy who likes having fun or something ridiculous in my high school level Spanish. It was a silly but memorable experience. Wish I could find it on YouTube. It would have been 2005 or 2006. Edit, thanks to you/both Aspide for pointing out this amazing Japanese game show SNL skit from 1994. That is exactly how I felt. Haha, classic Sagittarius. I had a friend who was on this show. She didn't tell anyone. I was just flipping through channels and saw her face on screen and quickly flipped back. She got kicked off midway. When I confronted her, she said it's all staged and you can choose how far you stay on the show. The longer, the more they pay you, but choosing to stay longer will require you to be more and more intimate with, and even kiss, the other participant, whether you liked him or not. I was an actor in the IITs/2000Z. Our agency supplied actors to dating shows. We had 3 people pretending to be in a love triangle, being sad and emotional and angry and whatever, and we watched a recording of it in our classes, including the 3 in question, laughing at the sheer falsehood of it all. It was basically improved. I actually didn't know until then that the contestants were faked. I guess real people do apply, so perhaps they use a mixture of real applicants and stooges to pad out other episodes. At least some contestants are real. I mean, I don't know any personally, but serial killer Rodney Alcala was famously on one and he wasn't an actor. Edit, corrected the name, getting my role models serial killers mixed up. That's not Ted Bundy, that's Rodney Alcala, who appeared on the dating game in the middle of his spree. In a similar fashion, a friend of mine was a male model and the dating shows would call his agency on a semi-regular basis. They just wanted good-looking people for their show. It was all an act. I don't know if it's true or not, but my friend said his agent was telling him most of those reality-based shows on TV will reach out to agencies looking for good-looking or interesting-looking people. I totally believe it. Was a casting assistant. Can confirm. It's not like shows have the time or money to search out real people and fly them to LA or wherever to shoot. So they use the pretty people around them, and all of those pretty people are actors/models. But why male models? A girl I went to high school with was on Married at First Sight, and she said it was mostly scripted and edited to make her look super bad because people love the drama. Except, I couldn't tell it was edited. That's just how she was. Anyway, she's engaged again. So it obviously didn't make her look too bad. Katie ha. Yup, Katie. Not me, but a mate went on dinner date. Had the date and the producers said they'd call him in the next few days after the winner had been chosen by the girl and they were ready to film the conclusion. They called him on a Friday night while we were in the pub, but they wouldn't tell him if he'd won and was going out or whether they would just be filming the rejection. He wanted to stay at the pub, but I convinced him to go back. Turns out he lost, and after 10 minutes of filming spent the evening at home on his own, he was pretty annoyed. Why not just go back to the pub? Yeah, just land back to the pub with the ready meal they give the losers. Not me, but my best friend was on first dates, Dutch one. There was a lot of waiting. I think he was there for 4 hours in total. Had to eat a 3-course meal at 12 in the afternoon. What I thought was also funny was that the shot of them walking towards the restaurant is shot way before the actual date. So they are not walking towards their date, they just approach the restaurant and then go back to the waiting room. I was a background eater for the same Dutch program. Had to enter the restaurant through the waiting room with other background eaters. Saturday there for a few hours, had a 5-course meal for like €12. Then we had to leave because other background eaters would take our place. We could see the dates coming in and sitting at the bar, was a pretty nice experience. How do you get the job of a background eater? %D. It's a tad bit boring. I've to stare through the lens for long periods and constantly fiddle with the settings. Nobody ever asks how the camera dude feels. How did the camera dude feel? Really firm and juicy. My ex was on Naked Attraction. Was super weird seeing him. Didn't recognize who it was until I saw his face. Watched it again just to see if I recognized him before the faces were revealed. Still didn't recognize him. A mutual friend told me he told all his friends that he was on it. So I guess they have all seen him naked now. I was always legitimately curious if someone could recognize someone else by just their bits on that show. Apparently not always. You might if they had a tattoo or a birthmark/mole, but otherwise I doubt it. They'd have to have something unique about their body parts, I think, otherwise they could be anyone. It would be rather awkward if you didn't recognize his face, but then realization hit you when they panned down.